Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates. The Core New Core. My patrons, Clayton, Ruby, Stephanie, and Jonathan. Thank you so much. And most basically, it's meant for anyone interested in seeking to survive and thrive as a Pilates instructor or student. Aren't we both all the time? But more specifically, entering into being the instructor with a student. In the pursuit of Pilates. And so the subject of this broadcast is a profession of what it means to, of one particular point of view called MMP that views Pilates as an ideal. Just based on a theory that an ideal is there, and that theory then built upon the evidence of Joe's definition, statement, and sequence in his book. So even though there's original work of Joe's in pictures, film, and words, I got off into thinking about how most of Pilates, the Pilates culture, is based on tradition, and legitimacy and authority is presumed out of the absence of there being anything else. There's a good way to say it. And yet, in the tsunami of Pilates passion and exploration as to what it is, some of that spills over into why is it what it is, and that's, oh man, that's why I'm here. And so my number one thing is it's a blessing. So when I think of broadcasting, I think I'm broadcasting. I try to, in my mind, imagine that I'm broadcasting to you in the year 3030. Because by then I'm pretty sure core new tension is the biomechanics that are valid and have data underneath them and point to some of how the body moves through space. I think that'll be more apparent than ever. And give it another 1,000 years out to 4040. For a broader spectrum of humanity to find relevance in the point of view. All that time to say so little, sorry. But blessed by you, because if you're observing this, if you're watching this, if you're viewing this, that's a blessing, because it at least, hopefully what I put out there about CT and MMP resonates with you to the point that you feel blessed as well as I feel blessed by being able to point to what there is to point to from me. Which takes me to number 2, the distance. It's been a long time since I was first directed to, or just the song, The Distance. So listen to the song The Distance. He's going for speed. He's going around and around in the track long after the race is over, right? Long after the cup was given away. As though his pursuit of getting better hasn't diminished just because the race is over, right? And driven as though, just driven, however that is, or wherever that is, but driven. And so having brought up the song and some of my sentimentality towards it, I'm blessed by you because there you are observing me, locked in my passion of going the distance, trying to communicate these 2 points of view. One about biomechanics and one point of view of Pilates. And that's all they are. But they can be very empowering to you if you're trying to survive as a Pilates instructor. Recognition of and affiliation with the MMP brand is an open acknowledgement and some kind of a legal agreement in which you use the trademark in association with your own brand. A very seasoned person I respect, taught Pilates a lot, done it through a lot of venues, is surfing on the wave of the big money coming in. And I'm sure will have a positive influence on how that's directed. That person laughs when I say that this big brand or that big brand will someday be an affiliate to the brand of MMP. The Michael Miller trademark. And, okay, illusions of grandeur, perhaps, delusional, perhaps, but there I am going the distance because, oh man, because of speed. He's going for speed. Just hear the song, there's great verb in the song. I don't know any other way than trying to communicate what I have to communicate about those two things. One, an identification of biomechanics, and the other, an ideal point of view of Pilates. And it's just one point of view. It's ideal. And in it being ideal, it has its advantages. So, listen to other recordings to hear some of the grind of the motorcycle going around the track when I explain CT and MMP, because those are the two gifts I have to return to you for you spending the time observing me. Number 3. So when it comes to Pilates, being a Pilates instructor, what is the gift that you are giving to your student? Now, everybody stood up and we all have great answers to that, right? just in a very broad sense, or a very practical sense, or a very universal sense, maybe that's the word I'm looking for, but in common with everyone, the gift is being more present. When you go diving into complete concentration in your effort to do something, when you come out of that, those capacities are closer to each other than they were beforehand. Even if overwhelmed and out of balance, after the moment of focused concentration. It's a fleeting thing. So the gift of, you know, as a Pilates instructor, whatever you know, and whatever you do, what you do, and I think if the person is more present in themselves, as themselves, right, then that's being aware of your role as the instructor. Is have that person, your student, in more control of themselves. So my closing is that, what are you aiming for? What are you aiming for? What are you aiming for? In terms of you listening to me, wherever you're listening, if you already knew it, you probably wouldn't be listening to it again or over, or at least just like in martial arts, there's a broad spectrum of movement geared toward one thing. Under the umbrella of Pilates, there's a broad spectrum of expressions. From the MMP point of view, all falling under the category of, rather than martial in terms of combatant and other human being, the martialness of Pilates, or the combativeness of Pilates, is with what? Gravity. Check out Rodin's sculpture of the fallen Cartiadid. Check out, is it Heinlein? Check out Heinlein's description of the sculpture. Those are too old. Well, see, the sculpture is forever, and Heinlein's really a long time ago, science fiction. But the issue is what? Gravity. Gravity. In all that spectrum of expressions of Pilates, based on lineages and schools and any other grouping you want to assert a point of view of Pilates on, right? As far as I know, only one of them provides an explanation for what it is. Straight out of Joe's book. And for you to know that there's a point of view that's ideal, better said, there's a point of view based on a theory that there's an ideal within Joe's work. That's all. So right away that limits the range or the scope of the point of view. Reminds me of the Italian race car driver in Gumball, where it's a cross-country race. And he reaches out in the Ferrari and takes the rear view mirror and rips it off and throws it away. Because whatever behind you doesn't matter, and I know that's not true. But it's humorous, and it points to which way you're oriented and how much you care about what's in front of you rather than what's behind you. So I'm here trying to clarify 2 points, 2 identifications. And to the extent that you're aware of those identifications and are able to hold them in consideration as you act as a Pilates instructor, that was my intent and purpose and what I have to share. And the other thought that came to mind is a reassurance that if you're watching this, even though there's next to no viewers right now in the time stream that I'm creating them in, I completely forgot where I was going with that. That in the spectrum of POV of Pilates, MMP POV is an ideal one that you can see right through, that is based on a theory. And gosh, I didn't get any of that written down. Pilates is Pilates is a reaction to reality, and reality is ideal. You're returning to life, Joe's words, title of his book, Through Contrology, returning to life, becoming more present, is an embrace of the ideal that we find ourselves in. Just meaning three-dimensional space, front, back, sideways. And all of the space in between those 2 planes in that spectrum of ways of looking at Pilates, MMP is just one way, and it's unique in that it takes a point of view of Pilates and comes up with a definition that you can experience. In that spectrum of all the ways that Pilates can be, and the presumption at one end of the spectrum that Pilates is really only a culture and whatever the human beings make of it as what the human beings evolve it and what they want to do with it. as a Pilates instructor, I'm headed the other way, aiming for an expression of the ideal that then becomes real, of course. You idealize you idealize the exercise or the effort, and then what comes out of the idealization is what becomes real. And so the real that's inspired by the ideal got to produce pretty good results. So know what you know. Find and of course, from a point of view with MMP, both identifications are sensational for you directly. You can find core new tension between ears and shoulders, and that may give you some incentive to find the connection between shoulders, hips, all the way out to metatarsals. And as your awareness that core new tension is the means through which you distribute the load of your body most efficiently, for whatever is the way for you to do something, it probably is, and there's probably a good reason for it. When it comes to MMP, it seeks ideal expression within reality. So lined up is lined up. It's not, this isn't vertical in my frame of reference, or the Earth's in that straight to the center of the Earth lined up is lined up. And so that really narrows down Michael Miller Pilates, because there's a broad part of the spectrum that could care less about reality or anything other than an appreciation for and an adherence and an adherence to the tribe in which they exist and live or come from. See, then I see the wave, the tsunami, and I think, man, know what you know. And from the MMP point of view, what you know is transcendent in that it goes beyond the normal way of looking at things. And if it works for you, I'm really happy about that. And I got it done and transmitted as part of this going the distance. Because life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Evaluate points of view. Direct your thinking, because if you don't, somebody else is. And of course, Geist